In this video we're just going to talk about constant preview and how that works on the Panasonic GH6. So this kind of came to light when somebody was asking me what was going on with their screen. They said it was kind of laggy and blurry and it wasn't really working properly in some of the dial settings. And the reason for that is because of constant preview. So constant preview essentially it only works in a couple of the modes. It works in the manual photo mode and it works in the aperture priority mode. So by default it's switched off, but what we can do, if we'll come into the camera and we'll take a look. So if we go to the cog and the sort of back of the camera icon, the first one, that's our monitor display photo options, and what we want is constant preview. So what we can do, we can jump in, we've got on and off, but we've also got this set button. So we'll quickly look through the options. We've got effect under constant preview. So this is a little bit confusing how they've kind of laid this out, but essentially you've got A mode and then M mode, and then there are options in between. So obviously A mode is aperture priority on the top, M mode is manual on the top. So we've essentially, it is telling you what each one does. So the top one, A mode, will give you a constant preview of the aperture, so the depth of field of the shot that you've got set up, and M mode will do the same. It will do an aperture kind of preview. In the next one we've got the A mode will do the aperture preview, M mode will do aperture and SS, so that shutter speed as well. And in the bottom one it disables the aperture priority effect, and it does both effects for the manual one, so aperture and shutter speed. If I'm using this, I usually just switch the second one on and it switches it on for both modes. So if we just do that, and then we can come back out, it's still switched off at the moment because we haven't switched it on. So if we put it on, what you'll find, so you can see straight away, I'm going to sort of do some quite extreme like settings in the camera that you probably wouldn't use, but it will give you an idea of what this is doing. So you can see how laggy that is, and it's because the aperture is up incredibly high on that. So the shutter speed is kind of compensating. So if I bring the shutter speed to something reasonable, then you can see it's okay, but then I need to bring the aperture up to kind of compensate for that, to kind of bring it all back together. But you can see there, so the preview is kind of normal there, and then if we make that shutter speed go down, you can see it kind of starting to lag again. It's sort of sorry, let me bring the ISO down a bit, or the ISO we've got, so you can see there it's sort of starting to get very laggy again. So it's really just giving you a representation of, if the camera's moving like that and your shutter speed is that slow, the shot is going to look blurry like that, and that's the idea. They're kind of saying, this is what your shot will look like. So if you're moving around quickly taking shots of people, it's just all going to be blurs at that shutter speed. So you want to obviously bring your shutter speed up, and then you've got you're going to get a lot cleaner shots that are actually they're sharp and they're not blurry. So the next one, if we I could show you that working without constant preview. So if we turn it off, you can see it's just normal, no matter what shutter speed we're in. It's always going to look normal. So the constant preview there is not on and it's not set. So if we bring it back, and then I'll show you how the aperture one works. So essentially, let's bring this guy forward, the little bear, and let's get that shutter speed into something else. So I'm using the 25mm 1.7 lens on this, so the aperture is quite exaggerated if I bring it right down. So we've got an f10 there, and you can see it's a little bit dark on the screen, but you can just about probably see that we can see some of this background's in focus. It's not too sort of shifted out. And that's with our preview on. If we turn our preview off, you can see everything is much more out of focus now. It's not actually showing the true representation of how it would look. So sorry, let me just, I'm a little bit close to him. So yeah, you can see there how blurry it is, but then if we turn the constant preview on, you can see it sort of brings it into like a real representation of what we would see. And the preview only really kind of is more noticeable on that kind of higher f-stop, because if it's it essentially always shows it out of focus anyway. So when you bring it down, you can see there it's quite you know, a lot of it's in focus. But if we were to bring it right down to f1.7, just have to change the aperture. Oh, sorry, the ISO. You can see there how it looks, and then bring that in. It's not as noticeable at that end of it. It's more on the higher f-stops that that preview is actually noticeable. But the shutter speed one always kind of will be. So that's in the manual mode. You've got that, and then if we jump back into here as well into set, so under constant preview again, the only other option we've got is preview while manual focus assist is on. And this essentially, if it's not so much. It's probably worth bringing up actually into the. If I bring it back up into quite a high f-stop and then bring that about there, and then if I do, switch into manual focus, and then you can see there it's the sort of lag stops, and then if I'm like that, it's kind of there. Wait a minute, let me make that a bit more exaggerated, and then you can see it properly. Okay, yeah, that's quite bad. And then as soon as you go into focus assist, it should be. Sorry, let me just go back and check I actually set that. So that's with preview with focus assist on. So you know, the effect is still running while we're trying to focus. And then if we go back and set that to off, what you'll find when you turn it, everything just goes back to normal, and then back into that, and then it's sort of lagging again, and then just back to normal. So it's, whilst you're doing manual focusing, it's kind of switching that off and just allowing you to focus without it kind of showing all of this. And like I say, if you were to switch into the aperture priority mode, you'd get that aperture effect, but the shutter speed one won't show on there. So it's really in manual mode that you kind of get the use of both of them. But yeah, hopefully, you know, that's given you an overview of it, and that's helped. If it has, give the video a like. If you want to see more GH6 content, then please subscribe to the channel.